You understand?
Yeah.
So it's a government that is so tribal oriented. So it's normal that when in the embassy, it's supposed to say, okay, since I'm Basa, I'm going to look for the Basa people. Since I'm Bamileke, and when it's Bamileke, it's not a greater
Not
Bamileke
Bamileke,
nation.
no.
They go on these their clanic things. So it's normal that.
So do you draw the conclusion, Ellie Smith, that the foreign explanatory missions have flopped?
Oh, my brother, it has woefully flopped.
So maybe, and that's the beautiful connection, Henry, maybe it's time for the Cameroon government to follow the recommendation handed the Gogomo-led delegation to the U.S., come back home, and put the house in order.
Extremely correct. Let us come back home and put the house together. I don't know when they're supposed to come out. Maybe they should be back by now. If they are not back, well, they should continue enjoying a prolongation of their mission allowances. But they should come back because the solution to the question is here and not to explain to a handpick of people, because the tactics was just to concoct and say, oh, Cameroonians in the diasporas have said, no, we want our children to go back to school. Yes, we back home, we want the children to go back to school. We stop burning. We don't want people to burn. And so they have given their voices to President Paul Biya, and that Cameroon is one and it is. I saw a video and somebody was saying, ne touche pas à mon pays, ne touche pas à mon Cameroon, and that thing took place in, I think, Canada and so. But you see, it means that even those, Cameroonians in general were part of the movement. There were those who went there as observers, there were those who went there as active participants against the mission. So I think the answer is back in Cameroon.
Okay, so some have interpreted that recommendation from UN Deputy Secretary General Amina Mohamed to mean climb down from your high horse, go back home, engage inclusive dialogue, Ellie Smith, and address the root causes of tensions in Anglophone Cameroon.
Exactly. We'll be saying the same thing and coming. It's true. It's good that it comes from a UN scribe.
Right.
Telling the Cameroon government and telling people like Gogomo who have been lying, pathological liars,
yes,
lying to the government of Cameroon. These are the Anglophones creating problems in this country because they are unable, since they have no legitimacy, so they can invent stories. So they have to come back. And the thing is, now I'm afraid, even if those in detention are released, they should be able to talk with the people who really have the connection on the ground. The reality is that if they love this country, they should come back here in Cameroon and open a frank and sincere dialogue with those who are concerned. If it is not done, I think we are going onto a wall and there's going to be a kind of, well, there are many options on the table on possibilities that's going to happen. And my question is divine. You know, this government claims to be very good in their intelligence gathering. Why is it that all those who burn schools,
no arrests
has
to
happened?
The burning of schools.
I want to believe that the same tactics they have been using with these other movements abroad, they are using it back home. They are the ones orchestrating all these things.
You are towing the line of those who suspect that the burning of the flag in Canada, for example, was a government-inspired incident. I
think to suspect that they should be it because the thing is that when you look at the core separatists, they will not resort to such tactics because of what gain will you want to go and start burning things?
Burn a flag in Canada, it doesn't, I mean, how does it help the cause back home?
How does it help the cause back home? I don't think, I might suspect, I want to believe that the government is playing with its own fire. They might want to, because when Ashu Julius said at STV, in that program, Cat, you tell, oh, good, they have destroyed themselves, they have destroyed their image, and I now say to myself, given the proximity of Mr. Ngu with the CPDM people, he is a CPDM assertive CPN member in himself. So I suspect that what is going on is the government cooked up project. And now the suspicion back home is, if you are able to find an arms cache, why would you be able to find people who have this effrontery of burning schools
and so on?
And are even threatening that, okay, we are going to burn this today, they'll come and burn.
Yes.
So why? If you are able to block someone's telephone, you have this capacity with the aid that they have had from the Chinese and things like that to know how people are operating. I think it's the government orchestrating everything that is happening.
Okay, and so, towing the line from where you end, Ellie Smith, it will appear that from all indications, the socio-political climate in English-speaking Cameroon, that's the northwest and southwest regions in particular, is delicately perched on a rickety balance that could tilt in the wrong direction and at short notice. Anytime. Let's take a break, and when we come back, we'll be delving into an open letter or an essay written by Julius Wame on what he saw when he stayed in Cameroon for the past 4 months. We'll be back in a moment. And so, after spending 4 months in his native Cameroon, US-based former CRTV journalist Julius Wame has reckoned that, well, the self-styled internet generals are shepherding ordinary Anglophones in Cameroon, in the northwest and southwest regions, to the brinks of an abyss of no return. Kejan Henry, in a 2-page write-up, Mr. Wame raises eyebrows at the fact that with a computer click and from a safe distance, these people can remote control Anglophones into burning schools, for example?
Yes, it was a rich one from Julius, trying to give a clear picture of how liberation movements could succeed.
Is that a clear picture of...
how they could succeed or they could fail.
Yes.
But then a clear picture of how people are, suffering. Cameroonians are suffering back home. I'm talking about Cameroonians west of the Bongo or southern Cameroonians, to go by the appellation, which is no more a taboo. I think the write-up actually is telling the internet generals not to...
the internet generals, I mean...
yeah, those they declare themselves, they call themselves the general, and so, but we read them on the social media, that's why we tag them internet generals. Yes. But it's a correct one because he has given a lot of examples of how movements actually succeed or fail. But the whole lot, if you interpret it between the lines, you understand that he's actually asking people to engage in concrete dialogue, rather than fanning, flaming.
I think we have images of
so
Julius Wame in our machines. We'll be getting to see him. It's been a long, long while since he left the taxpayer-funded Cameroon Radio and Television, CRTV. Ellie Smith, in one of the examples he quotes, he says he was in Kimbo attending Mass on a certain Sunday on July the 30th, where the priest announced that schools were going to resume or reopen on the 7th of August because classes need to be intensified to catch up with the lateness. But then, shortly after parents started jumping out for joy that schools were going to finally reopen, a Catholic primary school at Tobin in Kimbo was set ablaze almost instantaneously.
Yes, he said, because the thing that we are living in, we are in the 21st century. People can commandeer anything from any part of the world. But my difference with the letter of Mr. Wame that I've not seen is, I want people to stop this attitude of thinking that this thing is commandeered from abroad. That thing is on the ground. People who are deciding that this should be done or this should be this is from the ground. Because ask your death of equation, when a mother refuses to send...
The extension, for example, Ellie, and that's a contradiction for you, the extension of the ghost town operations is not a homegrown thing.
Yeah, well...
Tassan Wilfred, who is abroad, actually comes out and gives the directives.
Well, I want to think Tassan Wilfred, contrary to what people think, if he doesn't have the enabling environment on the ground, which means if he doesn't have a connection,
he doesn't hide it. He says,
yes,
ground soldiers will...
Brilliant. He will not go and say it online.
All right.
Because, for example, when you are in Bamenda, for example, people tell you that when you wake up in the morning, you have leaflets fan out all over the place, which means that people are on the ground. They are abroad. They are just like a kind of mouthpiece. There will be nothing. Honestly, there will be nothing if the ground was not fertile for them to prosper. I think that is the reason why I think Kejang said, and I'm saying it, you solve the problem from here. You can accuse those guys, calling them generals on the
internet and so on.
You are even giving them a lot of credit. The only problem is that we cannot be able to find those who are doing here on the ground. They think it's here on the ground because the place is already decayed.
And we've said this several times. That's a beautiful thing. We can see the kids on the screens right now. Mr. Wame Julius actually says that this burning of schools is tantamount to an assault on the educational future of Anglophone children. You want to have a liberated, if at all it ends up getting liberation, you want to have a liberated nation of educated individuals, of people who are able to put bread on the table every morning. You don't want hapless, uneducated people to call a nation.
You are right, he's correct. And even if, just like we were saying, even if another option, or the option is federalism, and then we have to go back to school. Tomorrow we are going to cry that there are no classes.